Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pammy Out Loud. I'm your host, Pamela Walsh, and I am so glad that you are here with me today. Y'all, it has been a minute. I have been on the road and back and forth and entertaining guests here in Colorado, and lots has been going on. So I just want to give you a little bit of a catch up and tell you what's been happening in my world and let you know what to expect next out of this podcast. So first of all, let me just say, I am dressed head to toe. Wish you could see me. I'll have to post a picture on my Facebook in pink. From my headphones to my hat, from my lipstick to my fingernails, from my shirt to my socks, I am pinked out. And just in case you're wondering, I'm just going to say, in the words of Taylor Swift, let's just call this an Easter egg. More on that in a minute. But speaking of Taylor Swift, y'all, I just finished listening to the New Heights podcast, and I am so ready for her and Travis to get married. It is time for those people to make some babies, y'all. Y'all, first of all, you got to know, I am a huge, huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. I have been one pretty much my whole life. I lived in Kansas City let me count how many times. 3 different times in my life I've lived in Kansas City. But truthfully, I didn't become a big fan until Patrick Mahomes went there. And I was first a Patrick Mahomes fan. He was playing ball at Texas Tech when our son Daniel was going to school there. And I just really came to admire him as a leader for his confidence, his poise, and his ability, not to mention his incredible athleticism. And so when the Chiefs took him, I just thought, all right now, in the words of Travis Kelce, all right now, I became a huge fan. And I like to tell people that I liked Travis Kelce before Taylor Swift even knew who he was. So that said, I am all about the Kansas City Chiefs. I have shirts that I have embroidered. I have Patrick Mahomes' face embroidered on blue jeans. Like, I'm all about it. And thankfully, I have a really good friend in California, my girlfriend Gail. She is as big of a Chiefs fan as I am. So when football season starts, the two of us are on our phones during the game like two frat boys going back and forth talking about the plays. And so I am really fired up about the football season. And I really enjoyed listening to the podcast. But like I said, I am ready for them to make babies, not music. That's what I'm saying. And like I am proud to say, I am a Swiftie in my 60s. So anyway, football season is coming, and I am fired up about that, as well as the fact that the Texas Longhorns are ranked number 1 in the college polls going into game 1. But I was just reading about something I thought was kind of interesting, which is they are 2.5-point underdogs against Ohio State. And it is like the first time ever that a number 1 ranked team is going in as the underdog. So that's going to be interesting to see. And I will tell you, the Ohio State game is indelibly etched in my mind. As some of you know, Brian and I attended the Cotton Bowl when the Longhorns played Ohio State last January. And the TV, the national television camera, panned towards Brian and I right after Ohio State ran back and scored a touchdown right before the halftime. We were probably featured for all of 3 seconds maybe on the TV screen, and we did not know it. We didn't see the camera, but we went to halftime and our phones blew up. And when I say blew up, I mean, I heard from people as far back as junior high school saying, I think I just saw you on national television. Now, thankfully, I will say I was having a really good hair day, so I was very grateful about that. Thank you, Wes Persley. Shout out for my hairdo that day. So I was having a good hair day, but the motion or the picture spot ended up turning into all sorts of memes, and it has been used in many different sports recaps, and it in fact just showed up again as the season opener promo. There was Brian and I once again featured with Brian with his hands over his face. But what I do like to say, one of the ones that got retweeted was LeBron James actually used the picture of Brian and retweeted about Ohio State coming back and scoring, and he showed Brian's face. Well, Brian's hands over his face. So it was kind of this surreal, fun little moment in what do you call it? I don't know what to call it. We had a lot of fun, but I could tell you this: I could have warned the CEO and the HR director before you go to a Coldplay concert. You never know where those cameras are going to be showing up. But anyway, that was our little, I wouldn't say, I was going to say 2 seconds of fame, not 10 minutes of fame, but it was kind of fun. I will also, so anyway, let's talk more about why am I dressed in pink? Why am I in pink? So, as I have mentioned before, we have been anxiously awaiting a new grandbaby, our youngest son, Daniel, and his wife, Beth. They were expecting their first child on August the 13th. And a few weeks before that, we found out that our baby, which was sitting breech, and they were going to try to turn the baby. And I keep saying the baby because we did not know what flavor we were having. Let me just say, foreshadowing. Look at the outfit. Foreshadowing. What do I have on? So anyway, we didn't know what we were having. They were going to induce Beth, or we were going to try to flip the baby, which was kind of interesting because that was something they had to do for me when I was pregnant with Daniel. He was also breech, and they do this thing called version where they flip the baby, and it worked for Daniel. He flipped. It has got to be one of the most painful things about childbirth that I went through. It was the OB stood on one side of me and her partner stood on the other, and they both pressed as hard as they could to flip the baby. So they tried to do that same thing with Beth, but the baby did not flip. And because Beth had developed preeclampsia, they needed to do a C-section. So thankfully, we got to get there in time for the C-section, where we did not know what we were having. And I will just tell you this, it's the sweetest video of all I've ever seen, is my son standing up after they pulled his daughter and telling his wife that they had a baby girl. Yeah, it's special. Very, very special. So I am excited and thrilled to announce that we have Blake Amanda Walsh, who was born July 23rd at 12:46 p.m. Unfortunately, she was struggling a little bit for breathing, and they had to whisk her away to the neonatal unit. That became a very, I should say, well, if you have to, let me just catch my breath. I'm sorry. Blake is fine now, and she is at home with her mother and daddy, and we're now 3 weeks. 3 weeks today, she is old. So she just came home 2 days ago, and she spent nearly 3 weeks in NICU at Texas Children's Hospital. I will tell you, seeing a little tiny baby hooked up to all those monitors and machines is very overwhelming. but I wouldn't want to be any other place than Texas Children's if that's going to be where a requirement that you have to have. The care and concern that we had from the doctors and the nurses, the way they explained things to Beth and Daniel, and the care that they gave our granddaughter, it just touches your heart in ways that, you're so grateful that you have those kinds of people in the world who choose to make a profession out of caring for the littlest. She is tiny, but she is mighty. And I think that we are going to get to see great things out of that little girl. And yeah, it was a special moment. And it's been hard for me to talk during this time, which is kind of weird, right? Like it's almost like in times of stress, you think you talk a lot. But I didn't feel like I could put together a podcast of any words to articulate. It's a scary place to be. And, my husband said, he said, I hated seeing her hooked up to all of those things. Whereas the way I looked at it is it gave me great comfort. I mean, they were monitoring every breath she took, every part of her blood, her urine, her heartbeat, everything was being monitored. It's amazing what science can do. And I am just so grateful to those who choose that profession. Towards the end of her stay, she got to have a little crocheted cap put on her head that was made by one of the volunteers. The other thing that was really sweet was they had these soft, I'm going to say it's not flannel, but soft fabric in the shape of a heart. And they would have, they had my daughter-in-law wear those against her chest. And then they would put them in the crib next to the baby so that she could learn her mama's smell. So I don't know. It's just, I'm so grateful for the medical facilities that we have and for the people that choose that as their profession. I also really want to say personal thank you to the number of people who prayed and put Blake on prayer chains around the country. That provided great comfort for all of us to know that so many people who didn't even know our family even, were praying for her health and well-being. And we are excited and thrilled to announce that she is doing quite well and prayers were answered. A couple of shows ago, I was talking about things. I did want to throw this out there. I have learned, continuing the theme of things that you may not want to say to people, or what provides comfort and what doesn't. I've learned a few more lessons. And I don't know, for me, people telling me that they were thinking about us, that they were praying for Blake, they were praying for my daughter-in-law and son, that gave me a lot of comfort. There isn't really much you can do. I was so struck also by the number of, again, Beth and Daniel's friends and the way they rallied and supported them. So it was the power of prayer and of letting people know that you are holding them close in their heart. That matters. It really, really matters. I will say one thing, though. My daughter-in-law shared something that a couple of people, I guess, had said to her. which is when they went, they left, of course, went home without their baby. And that was a hard day, the day they had to leave the hospital without Blake. And my daughter-in-law said, I know people mean it well, but when they say, well, at least you can get some sleep and while she's still in the hospital. Now, I'm just going to say, people, if you haven't heard my earlier episodes, take note. Anything that starts with the words at least should be stricken from the record of things to say, because whatever you say, at least it's blah, blah, blah. It negates feelings that people have. And let me just tell you, there isn't a mama out there that wouldn't relish the thought of having their baby home with them, staying up all night with them, then leaving them in a hospital and having somebody else take care of them. So if you are inclined, if you ever run up against that and somebody has to leave their baby in a hospital, don't say, oh, at least you got somebody else taking care of them in the middle of the night, because that's a job that they desperately would want to have for themselves. So anyway, I just wanted to say how much I am thankful to my friends and my family for their support during the last 3 weeks. The check-ins and the prayers meant a lot to all of us, and I'm so thankful for all of you. I do want to say on a side note, and also a very happy note, that in addition to Blake arriving, my very good friend Jennifer Hart and her husband Dennis welcomed another granddaughter into their family. And this is kind of a fun story. I met Jennifer when she and I were both pregnant. And then now, I should say, some 30 plus years later, those two little babies that we were pregnant with both had babies due on the exact same day. And so last week, Jennifer's daughter, Jessica, delivered their granddaughter, Jane Hart Mayo. And so we are thrilled that they are at home and doing well. And congratulations to Jessica and Kevin. And a third baby that I want to have a shout out for is my cousin Kathleen had her first grandson. Got to get that right. I'm so focused on girls, but she had her first grandchild, which is a grandson. He was born just yesterday. Mason John Regi. And we are all very excited. They were also due on the same day that Daniel and Jessica were due. So lots was in the air, I guess, 9 months ago back then. But I'm thrilled with that. We have all these healthy babies now at home with their parents. And I send many love and prayers out to all the families for healthy and happy family life to come. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. In the upcoming shows, I'll start talking about Mahjong. I'm also going to be hosting a show with my friend Kristen, where we will be talking about gray area drinking, which is an interesting and probably something that you don't even know much about, but something that is a very commonplace experience for. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I'm about to go put on my favorite new pair of pajamas. My friend Stacy was out here a few weeks ago, and she brought me as a hostess gift PJs. And let me just say, Pammy loves her PJs. I do not like to be hot. I do not like to get tangled in nightgowns. So really soft, cool pajamas are kind of my jam. And Stacy brought me these fabulous pajamas from Amazon, which I will share the link in my show notes because let me just tell you, they are the softest, most comfortable pajamas that I've ever put on. And they're like $35. So I'm going to put the link in my show notes. And let me tell you, you can get them in like fun things like giraffes and elephants and polar bears. Or if you would like to be a little bit more conservative, there are some solid colors to boot. Okay, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week to come. I appreciate you checking back in with me. Thank you to everybody that reached out and said, hey, where are you? Is everything okay? I'm glad to say we are doing great. And until next week, keep listening, keep speaking out loud, and remember, gritting your teeth gives you TMJ. Peace out.